Hey y'all, welcome to what is the final episode of Soccer for Us Down Under. I'm Bart, and I am talking to you from the States. I am in Los Angeles, waiting to catch my flight back home, finally, to Atlanta. This sucks because, granted, this was my schedule to begin with, but I thought I would be leaving Australia and New Zealand after witnessing the U.S. win a round of 16 match in Sydney and leaving them behind as I go chase a 5th World Cup championship and a 5th star for the shirt. Unfortunately, in my 17 days down under and 7 total matches, I only saw one USA goal, only got to celebrate one USA goal during my time. And even during the fan zone watch party that I went to for the round of 16 game, still didn't get to celebrate a goal. This is an abrupt and shocking exit for the U.S., but, for those of us who have watched this team for a while, and specifically the past cycle, it's not unsurprising. I think I've been very upfront that I didn't think this team was going to win the World Cup. I still don't think that they were as bad as they showed this tournament. But anyone who thought they would win was fooling themselves to think that this team would win another World Cup, a 3rd in a row. I thought making a final would have been doable. I thought it was very doable considering the side of the bracket they were on. Unfortunately, this team underperformed at every chance that they could, including the final game where, although they played very well against Sweden, ended up in a 0-0 draw that went all the way to penalty kicks, went into sudden death penalty kicks, and the team still couldn't get the job done. Again, they scored 4 goals in 4 total games. Scored 1 goal in 300 minutes of play against what I would consider, real competent teams. 1 goal against Netherlands, 0-0 against Portugal, 0-0 against Sweden. Now, granted, they gave up only 1 goal the entire tournament, and I think they only had 1 shot on goal the entire tournament. But at the end of the day, you have to score to win. You have to score to win World Cups. And this team didn't do that enough. I'll probably give more post-mortem thoughts when I'm on the SDH morning show later this week. And then we'll have a full kind of structured breakdown of the tournament with my friends here at Soccer for Us. But I just wanted to give my thoughts on the USA-Sweden game, the 0-0 draw in the round of 16. And I think we have to first start by saying this is the best the team looked all tournament. I thought that the lineup was correct, both the player selection and also the formation tweak. We knew Rose Lavelle would be missing due to yellow card accumulation, and I think we all expected Savannah DeMello to replace her in the lineup as she did in both Vietnam and Netherlands games. But instead, Vlatko kind of surprised all of us, choosing Emily Sonnet to play next to Andy Sullivan in the midfield and deploying what ended up being a 4-2-3-1, 1-3, whatever way you want to call it. But the important thing was you had 2 holding midfielders. And, that was something that I think a lot of us had kind of wondered why Vlatko didn't try to do more of. It worked after, repeatedly banging our head against the wall for the 2022 season, coming up looking bad against England, Spain, and then Germany. Kind of changed things a little bit, moved a midfielder deeper in November 2022, and even continued that in the early 2023, and it looked really good. Unfortunately, Vlatko didn't think we should stick with that for this tournament or past the She Believes Cup, really. But he went back to it. And, I thought that it kind of could have been a 2015 moment. If you don't remember, U.S. had to make some lineup changes due to injury and yellow card accumulation, specifically to Lauren Holiday. And that forced the team to kind of play in a little bit different structure that provided more defensive cover, but also more efficient progression of the ball from back to front. And we saw that. Emily Sonnet was great. The double pivot looked really good, but Emily Sonnet, in fact, was, I thought, better than Andy Sullivan. Again, Sullivan was fine, but just continued to just be not the influential player we needed at that position. The team definitely looked more fluid in possession, allowed the fullbacks to get higher in the field, combined with the wingers. But yeah, Sullivan was very vocal, very key in holding our shape, maintaining our lines. And like I said, I thought this was going to be a 2015 moment when we kind of walked out there, put that lineup out there, a change, and looked much better. We had a dominant first half. I mean, we looked so good. We looked like we were soccering, and Sweden's a very good team with very good players and a good coach. So this was a very welcome sign of improvement. Unfortunately, we just didn't score. And as you should know, if you listen to this podcast, if you listen to me talk, you've got to score when you have the momentum. When you press that advantage, you have to convert it to goals, and we didn't. We definitely had our chances in the first half. We had way more in the second, but we still created chances in the first half. Just, again, unable to convert, unable to find composure inside the box, and led that to a 0-0 score at halftime. But even in the second half, I thought we came out mostly in control. I thought it was a little bit more back and forth. You could tell that we were getting tired. That is down to, I'm not blaming Vlatko for not rotating the squad as much, because obviously all 3 games up to this point were in the balance later in the game, so you weren't able to really get fresh legs in. Not that, we know he would have used subs. We don't know that, but in theory, he would have been able to use subs to both waste time and give some players a break who needed it. But you could tell that we were tired, but still the better team. We were controlling possession. We were controlling the flow of the game. We had a couple of great chances. Alex Morgan had a good header chance. Lindsay Horan probably with the best chance of the match, forcing a fantastic save from Musovic. Sophia Smith had a couple chances when she went centrally, but it was 22 total shots, 11 on target, but unfortunately not even 1.7 XG over the 120 minutes we played. In the second half, Vlatko takes takes Trinity Rodman out for Lynn Williams. It was very clear that Trin had kind of given everything she could. She was sick earlier in the week. And I thought that was a very logical sub. That was, a sub we thought we needed in the Netherlands game. But a good sub there. Then Morgan came off very late in the second half for Megan Rapinoe, put Sophia Smith into the middle of the line. But the problem is just that Megan Rapinoe was not very helpful at all to this team throughout the tournament, and certainly wasn't helpful to this team in this game. Her set pieces were terrible. Her corner kicks barely made it past the first player. Her set piece delivery was helpful to Sweden, that's for sure, but did not give us any sort of attacking opportunities. That's the one thing that I think Andy Sullivan does at a very elite level. She delivers a very good ball into the box, and Vlatko forcing Megan Rapinoe to be the corner kick and free kick taker at all times when she's on the field is, again, an error of his, and again, something that this federation, this program needs to move on from. We cannot continue to just rely on veterans the way we have. She's 38 years old. She's about to retire. I don't think she should have been on this roster necessarily. I don't think it's the worst thing that she was, but it's certainly a bad thing when Megan Rapinoe is getting the bulk of your substitute minutes in 2023 trying to win you games. That's just not a position that is going to be successful. It's not a successful scenario. And Vlatko continued to put us in that position. And it's one of the many reasons that he should no longer be the coach of this USWNT. However, I do want to talk about two incredible performances. First is Alyssa Nair. She was so pivotal in this game. We knew coming in that Sweden was deadly on corner kicks, on all set pieces, really. Deadly. I mean, I watched them score like 3 against Italy in their 5-0 rout. Nair controlled her box so well on corner kicks. She was quick off her line. She was aggressive off her line. It almost looked like my friend Andrea was watching with me this game, and she said it was like the instructions to Nair were to win the ball first on every corner kick, and Nair did. She was fantastic, so solid, so secure. Had to make an actual save, and then when we go to the penalty kick shootout, she saved a pin, made a pin, and really almost saved a second penalty. Honestly, this is a legendary performance from Alyssa Nair and needs to go up there in one of the best all-time individual USWNT performances. Unfortunately for her, it comes in a loss, and it comes in a game where we lost. Technically, we didn't lose, but we don't advance. We come out as the losers. But she didn't concede a goal. She was great in the penalty kick shootout. 2 penalty kicks missed for Sweden. 1 again that Nair saves that. Unfortunately, she couldn't keep out of the goal because it was a millimeter behind the line, and according to VAR, and that hurts. And I think that is so unfair to Alyssa Nair, but it's just kind of a perfect encapsulation of this team right now. We did control the match. We were the better team according to most of the stats, and we created opportunities for ourselves. But at the end of the day, we didn't convert. We didn't score. We still didn't give up any goals. We didn't give up any real chances. But we're eliminated because we didn't take care of our business. And that kind of is the theme for this team during this tournament, is not taking care of business. And that is unfortunate. I just want to, again, remind people that Alyssa Nair took care of her business this tournament, was highly, highly influential in this game, was the reason that I felt like she set the tone. The team was dialed in, and Alyssa Nair was a big part of that. The other performance I want to point out is the center back performance, because I thought both Germa and Ernst were absolute dominant in the back. And again, it just is so frustrating that we have such a good center back pairing performance all tournament, really. And it results in us being eliminated because we only conceded 1 goal the whole damn time. Germa if you ask me, Naomi Germa's your starter for the next 10 years and probably needs to be the captain, immediately. She is so calm, so smart, so quick, and such a game-changing center back. But she was also paired with someone who has those same qualities in Julie Ertz. And I'm hoping Germa learned from Ertz kind of the intensity that it takes to win at the international level. Julie is a very intense player, both individually but also toward her team. She battled Blackstenius all night, came out the winner because Blackstenius didn't score. Germa was so good at covering for Dunn, who was pushing high. Ertz was so good at reading those balls over top and winning just about everything. Those two were fantastic. And, Germa, Ertz, and Nair are really the only 3 players who come out of this tournament with a net positive. The person, though, who ultimately gets the biggest negative is Vlatko Andonovski. He needs to be fired as soon as possible. I'm sorry, we don't need a review. You don't. He didn't win. He has failed to win 2 tournaments in a row. Major international tournaments in a row, I should say. And that's unacceptable for this U.S. women's national team. You kept him on after the Olympics. I could have seen him being fired then, but, you kept him on thinking, okay, you changed the old guard, get some new blood in, change a little bit of the approach. And, he did, I'll give him credit, did change over from the old guard, but just not as quickly enough as he needed. Not as quickly, as decidedly as he needed. Again, keeping Megan Rapinoe around, relying on her as a major minutes eater, not really having a solution past Becky Sauerbrunn. Julie Ertz, sure, but again, a veteran who would have been nice to have been relying on Alana Cook and not Julie Ertz. Forcing Alex Morgan to kind of play in a way that is not her preferred style. All these things Vlatko did, on top of just poorly managing subs, poorly setting up this team tactically, and not winning. At the end of the day, you're the U.S. Women's National Team coach. You have to win. It's as simple as that. I don't think it would have been catastrophic had this team lost in the quarters to, for example, Japan. Look, that happens in international tournaments. You're not going to win every match, but the fact that Vlatko has a losing percentage in international tournaments is a problem. The fact that he has looked bad in both of the tournaments he coached. It's very clear that his approach is not working for this team. And I understand the players like him. That's good. But the players also have to expect greatness, and they're not getting it. They're not getting the success that is expected of this program. But we need to fire him as soon as possible, because we cannot wait for a review, wait to hire a coaching search for all these things. We need to get moving now. Everyone's talking about the Olympics next summer, which is true. 2024 Paris, the Olympics are happening. But we also have the CONCACAF Women's Gold Cup in February. And I know the U.S. wants to be the first winner of that. They deserve to be the first winner of that. They are the class of this region. They're the class of the world still. They're still the reigning World Cup champs, And you can't waste 6 months finding a coach. Sure, you might not get your coach in September, but there are going to be coaches available after this World Cup that I think could step into this role and just provide some better tactical foundations and ideas, while also bringing fresh eyes onto the player pool. I'll talk more about that later, but I just want to reiterate that Vlatko Andonovski cannot continue as coach. He needs to be fired as soon as possible. He does not deserve it, flat out. I'm also going to put a lot of pressure on Kate Markgraf. I think she needs to be gone as well. She's the general manager of this program. She's responsible ultimately for keeping Vlatko on. She's also responsible for, poor performances at the Youth World Cups, where we have underperformed, especially according to the talent we have. And part of that is down to coaching. She's kept Tracy Kevins on, a coach who, again, proved that she's not a very good coach, just like Vlatko Andonovski. And she's got multiple Youth World Cups under her belt. Vlatko has multiple international tournaments under his belt. And I think Markgraf is going to need to be held responsible as well. I would like to still keep the GM position for the U.S. women. I think that is a special thing that needs to be seen over. But I don't know if Markgraf is the person for it. She hasn't gotten success out of any of the teams. And that's really frustrating. Look, it's really frustrating even more that we missed 3 penalty kicks out of 7. It's really frustrating that you have a goalkeeper save a pen, Sweden misses a pen, and you still don't win in the first 5 kicks. It's incredibly disappointing end to Megan Rapinoe's career, that she misses the penalty kick that probably could have won it for us at that time. It's incredibly disappointing that Vlatko Andonovski continued to rely on her as this fulcrum of the team, as a key player at this age. Sophia Smith, I expect better of her, but I also expect her to be able to rebound and do better. We just haven't had very good luck in penalty kick shootouts. I think we think of the big ones where, the 99 World Cup and 2011 where we beat Brazil, but we ended up losing that final in penalty kicks. something we need to work on. That's definitely a mentality issue, but also a practice thing. And I think Soph was guilty of being a little too tired and not confident. And that's a bad combination when you're about to step up and take a penalty kick. The U.S.'s 2023 Women's World Cup is over. My journey down under is also over. Thanks to everyone for joining me on this audio journal as I trek, as I follow the U.S. women throughout their time in Australia and New Zealand. I would encourage anyone who wants to go down there to do it. They're beautiful countries. Obviously, as English-speaking nations, it's a lot easier to travel down there, but truly wonderful people down there. And I just want to say that both countries were great hosts, not just to me, but for this tournament as a whole. They really put on a good show. I thought Australia especially made this seem like such a big deal. New Zealand did as well, but obviously New Zealand being a much smaller country, big deal is relative to there. But, you know, we're seeing continual records being broken for attendances in New Zealand for women's soccer matches. We're seeing Australia sell out the Stadium Australia of 80,000 seats. We're seeing sellouts at all the other venues here in these knockouts. And I just want to applaud both Australia and New Zealand and their organizing committee for putting out a great showpiece for the women's game and meeting the demands that this tournament had, because it had the potential to be the most competitive Women's World Cup ever. And I think it's lived up to that. And I think they've been given great stages on which to perform. So thank you, Australia. Thank you, New Zealand. Y'all were wonderful hosts, very deserving of this tournament, and I'm glad to have been able to spend time in you for this wonderful 2 weeks of soccer in my life. So again, thank you so much, Australia. Thank you, New Zealand. Thank you to everyone for listening. Again, you can support the show at buymeacoffee.com/soccerforuspod. Don't forget to subscribe to Soccer Down Here, where you'll hear me on the SCH Morning Show a couple of times coming up soon. Later this week, obviously, as I return to home finally and I'm able to sit down and talk with John. And as we continue on this tournament for more thoughts. Next week, we'll probably have a full post-mortem show with Caleb, with Thomas, probably some others just reacting to this failure. And I look forward to talking to you all then. I'm Bart. I'm out.